You ever scroll through your own photos from 5 years ago and think, who even was that person? Not just the haircut or the outfit, the whole vibe, the things you cared about, the way you talked, the dreams you had. And then you look at yourself now and wonder if you'd even recognize each other on the street. Maybe it's nostalgia, maybe it's growth, or maybe, just maybe, it's something deeper. Because here's the thing, more people than ever are walking around feeling like strangers in their own skin. They don't know what they want. They don't know what they believe. They don't even know if the version of themselves they show the world is real anymore. So what's going on? Why does it feel like nobody knows who they are anymore? Stick around, because the psychology behind this identity crisis might just explain everything. Let's start with the most common type, the chameleon. You know this person. Maybe you are this person. They walk into a room full of creatives and suddenly they're talking about art and philosophy. Next day, they're at a family dinner defending tradition and stability. Then they're with their gym friends, all discipline and grind. And here's the kicker. None of it feels fake in the moment. It all feels true. Because the chameleon doesn't have a fixed sense of self. They adapt, they mirror, they become whoever the environment needs them to be. And psychologically, this makes sense. Humans are social creatures. We evolved to fit in, to read the room, to adjust our behavior for survival. But here's where it gets messy. When you spend so much time being what others expect, you lose track of what you actually think. Your preferences become a mix of everyone else's. Your opinions, borrowed, your identity, a patchwork quilt stitched together from 1,000 different interactions. And the scary part? You might not even realize it's happening. You might just feel hollow, like you're performing a role but forgot who you were before the script. Then there's the identity hoarder. This one's fascinating. They don't have no identity. They have too many. They're a writer, a gamer, a minimalist, a foodie, an activist, a spiritual seeker, a fitness junkie, and a homebody all at once. They collect labels like Pokemon cards. And every time they discover a new interest or belief system, they slap it onto their sense of self. I'm into yoga now. That's part of who I am. Oh, I watched a documentary on Stoicism. Guess I'm a Stoic too. The problem? Identity isn't supposed to be a buffet. When you try to be everything, you end up feeling like nothing, because these identities contradict each other. They pull you in different directions, and instead of depth, you get breadth, a mile wide, an inch deep. Psychologists call this identity diffusion, when your sense of self is so scattered that there's no coherent core. And in a world that offers infinite options, infinite communities, infinite ways to define yourself, it's easier than ever to fall into this trap. You're not building an identity, you're curating a highlight reel. And deep down, you know it doesn't add up. But here's where it gets darker. Meet the ghost. This is someone who's so disconnected from themselves that they feel like they're watching their own life from the outside. They go through the motions, they say the right things, they show up. But inside, nothing. No strong feelings, no clear desires, no sense of this is me. It's like they're a passenger in their own body. Psychologically, this is often linked to something called depersonalization, a dissociative state where you feel detached from your own existence. And it's more common than you think. Because when life moves too fast, when there's too much pressure, too much noise, too many versions of yourself to maintain, your brain hits the brakes. It shuts down the emotional connection to protect you. But the cost? You lose your sense of realness. You become a ghost in your own story. And the terrifying question becomes, if I don't feel like myself, then who am I? And then there's the reactor. This person doesn't choose who they are. They let life choose for them. They're defined entirely by what happens to them. Got hurt in a relationship? Now they're the guarded one. Got passed over for a promotion? Now they're the overlooked one. Someone criticized them once? That becomes their core wound, their identity anchor. The reactor builds their sense of self around their trauma, their failures, their external circumstances. And while it's natural to be shaped by experience, this is different. This is reactive identity formation. You're not asking, who do I want to be? You're asking, who did the world make me? And that's a dangerous place to live, because if your identity is just a reaction to pain, then you're trapped. You're forever looking backward, forever defined by what broke you. And the sad irony? The more you cling to that story, the more it becomes the only story you know how to tell. Finally, let's talk about the mirror breaker. This one's rare, but powerful. The mirror breaker is someone who's looked at all the versions of themselves, all the roles, all the expectations, all the performances, and said, "Screw it, I'm starting over." They delete the Instagram, they ghost the group chat, they move cities, they cut ties. And for a while, they feel nothing but relief. Because they've smashed the mirrors, they're no longer reflecting anyone else's image. But here's the hard part. Once you break the mirrors, you have to build something real. And that takes time. That takes courage. That takes sitting with the discomfort of not knowing who you are and being okay with it anyway. Because identity isn't something you find. It's something you create. And the mirror breaker understands that. They're willing to live in the unknown, in the messy middle, in the space between who they were and who they're becoming. So here's the truth. Nobody really knows who they are. Not completely. Not all at once. Because identity isn't a fixed thing. It's fluid. It shifts. It evolves. And in a world that demands you brand yourself, label yourself, package yourself for public consumption, it's no wonder so many people feel lost. But maybe that's okay. Maybe the point isn't to have it all figured out. Maybe the point is to stop pretending, to stop performing, to stop chasing some imaginary version of yourself that doesn't exist, and to start asking the only question that really matters. Who do I want to be right now? So which one are you? The chameleon, the hoarder, the ghost, the reactor, the mirror breaker? Or maybe you're a mix. Maybe you're still figuring it out. And that's the most honest answer of all. Drop a comment. Let's talk about it. Because if there's one thing we could all use right now, it's permission to not have all the answers. And maybe, just maybe, that's where real identity begins.